Well, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I've been to hang out with y'all and to be a part of this. E asked me to do this last year, and we were moving from Nashville, Tennessee to Minneapolis at the time. So it was just a little bit on the crazy side. So I'm beyond thrilled that we could connect this year. And I just so deeply appreciate a conference like this. This is just absolutely fantastic. I have been in marketing for over 24 years. I've been working specifically with authors for the past it's almost been 15 years, and this is something that I think has been needed for a long time. So I appreciate E and all of your efforts in putting this together. I got my start working with music. I was a music publicist for 2 different record labels in Nashville, Tennessee before I started my first company. And then I moved over to working specifically with authors after I had started my first company. And right after I had started my first company, my husband and I had our son. Our son is named Isaac. And Isaac, that's him. I asked him for permission to show his picture, and he said yes. But Isaac was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. And that picture at the top was when he was about 3 years old. That's my husband, Marcus. And now he is 15 years old, and he is thriving. He is just an amazing, amazing human being. And we are very, very passionate about just serving the neurodivergent community with Isaac's autism. I mean, we're by no means experts with this, or we're still learning, and we're still growing, and we're still learning so much, not only from Isaac, but also from the community. And I just, within walking this journey with Isaac, just seeing how he sees the world and how he perceives things is just I learn from him every single day. And when I've worked with other neurodivergent authors, and seeing their perspective of things, and seeing how they are sharing new ways of thinking and new ways of seeing things and new ways of approaching things, and even just teaching what I've learned has just been, it just blows my mind. And I'm just so incredibly thankful for that more and more people are talking about this, and that they're sharing their stories, and that they're sharing their experiences. And there have been times, there's an author named Sally Pla, who wrote she writes a series of books focusing on different neurodivergent topics and issues. And one of them, she wrote this book, and she sent it to me and Isaac read it, and he said, "It's just like me." And just for him to be able to, finally see himself in a book, or to identify with that, has just been such an amazing gift. And with everyone sharing their own stories and being able to give those experiences to other people, and to those people who feel alone, or who don't feel seen, or who don't feel like they have a voice for themselves, for y'all to be able to speak out for them is just amazing. And for them to see themselves in your books, in your art, in your music, all of that is just, it's incredible. And I do know that, since I work with authors, so many authors say writing the book is the hardest part, or, publishing a book is the hardest part. And once they kind of get over that hump and they get into the marketing aspect of it, they realize, oh, this marketing thing is hard. It is very, very intimidating. And I've been doing this for, like I said, over 25 years. I have never in my entire experience have had someone say, "I am so excited to market my book," or "I am so excited to get on social media to talk about, my book or my project, or whatever it is that you're working on." marketing across the board is difficult, and marketing, especially social media, it can feel very intimidating and very overwhelming. And it's something that, like, it doesn't matter, like what your life experiences are, or what, what you're writing about or what you're creating. It can feel very intimidating to be on, specifically on social media, since that's what we're going to be talking about today. It can feel very overwhelming. And it's something where, like, I've worked with so many authors and creatives who have said, I don't even want to be on social media, because what if there are a lot of what ifs, like, what if someone laughs at me? What if someone badmouths me? What if someone copies me? And there are a lot of what ifs that, like, always go on in our minds and in our heads. And what I hope today to really do is to really try to kind of remove some of that, or to ease some of that intimidation, and starting to really kind of clear the decks, and kind of trying to reapproach social media in a way that it's not going to remove all of the fear. It's not going to remove all of that intimidation. But I do hope that with this approach, it will empower you to start to make some changes if this is something that is a struggle for you, if it is something that you feel like, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to post, or I don't know how to X, Y, and Z. I really hope that, like, what we can do today is really start to ease that intimidation, and to kind of open it up, and to kind of have you look at it from through a different lens. As someone who worked in marketing before social media, I see personally social media as just being this amazing opportunity to connect with people that you might never have been able to connect with otherwise. Back, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have this way of, reaching out to someone and, like, getting out to the masses in one full swoop. We had to go through media outlets, we had to go through newspapers, we had to go through TV, and it was all very, very, very expensive to do. And now, again, like, kind of looking at social media as a way to connect with people in a way that we can make it very genuine and very authentic. And we can talk to many people all at once, rather than going through all of these individual entities. So today, what I really hope that we can do is really simplify to amplify our message. I want to help clear the decks and kind of remove all of these perceptions of things that we think that we have to do, or these things that we need to do on social media, like we need to show our faces on social media, that we have to do video, or we have to do this or that. We're clearing the decks. We're giving you a clean slate, and we're approaching this from a different angle and from a different perspective, because I am a big, big, big believer in, you absolutely do not have to be everywhere online in order to be seen. And especially when we feel overwhelmed, when we have a lot going on, you can't do 20 things really well all at the same time. And so by this motto, by this approach of simplifying to amplify, I hope to really, it helps you to focus on what you can do, and try to do it to the best of your ability in order to connect with the right people online. So let's move forward. So the very first thing is that like I had mentioned a few minutes ago, you do not have to be everywhere online in order to be seen. So what I would strongly encourage you to do is to focus on one social media outlet, especially if you're just either getting started, or if you feel very, very overwhelmed with social media. This is something that I did even just a couple months ago. I was feeling so drained, and just like my energy was just completely depleted when I went on TikTok, for example. I had 20 million things going on, and I was like, I I can't TikTok today. And so what I did was I focused in on Instagram, and I've just been putting my energy on Instagram because I felt more energized there at the time. I've had more connections there, and it just felt more comfortable to me right at the moment. And so that is where I've been focusing. And so that is something where if you feel drained by Instagram, or if you feel drained by TikTok, or wherever it is, focusing on one outlet where you enjoy being. Now, this does not mean that you go someplace where you have the most followers, or where you have well, yeah, let's just lean into where you have the most followers, because followers do not equal book sales, or they don't equal success. What it does is, like, if you're only focusing on the numbers, we aren't focusing on the connection. We aren't focusing on really drilling into what our goals are on social media. I've had authors come to me who have had just a couple, like maybe a couple hundred followers on social media, and they continuously sell books, or they continuously sell products. And I've had some authors who've had tens of thousands of followers who struggle to sell even one book or one product. So the number of followers is not does not represent your success on social media. And so it's really, I know that we often think bigger numbers mean bigger success, or that you must be selling a lot of books, or you must be very successful because you have a lot of followers. That is not a metric that I would really put into it. Where are you getting the most engagement? Where are you seeing a community of people that you want to connect with? Where are you comfortable sharing? And so that is really the first thing that I would encourage you to look at when considering where you should be online. So where do you enjoy being? And then next, if anyone has ever, like, talked to someone in marketing, or if they follow me on social media, you might have heard me talk about how important it is to have an ideal, I call it an ideal reader. And in here, we're calling it an ideal connection, because there might be, like, various different creatives here. But an ideal reader, and I'll just use that as our example, an ideal reader is not necessarily you might have heard of, like, marketing research, or, like, this is the person that is going to be buying your book. That isn't what we're talking about. When we talk about an ideal reader, it is mainly for you as the creative person to think about, who am I wanting to speak to? It's for you to really filter in and focus in on one specific person. So think about it this way. If you were to stand on a stage with 10,000 people, and you're standing there in front of a microphone, it is wildly intimidating. You would probably want to run right off and, hide. When we think about talking to a mass of people, it is very, very intimidating. And it's hard to think about, okay, how can I connect with 10,000 people? What do I talk about? Where do I even begin? But so instead of thinking about that, think about sitting down at a table across from someone that you know. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it is a family member. Maybe it is someone that you've worked with in the past. And how easy it is for you to sit in front of one person and talk to them one-on-one. Because you already know this person. Because you know that they also like dogs, and you love dogs. You also know that they have a hobby of gardening. And hey, I have a hobby of gardening too. And so there are things that we can talk about to connect as a human being. It's not about, as an author or a musician or a creative, talking at people to try to sell something. Social media is about a connection, and it's about creating a community online, kind of like this incredible setup that we have here with this conference. And so when we think about an ideal reader, an ideal connection, many times authors about this, they really struggle with, I don't know who my ideal reader is. So if you find yourself in that similar position, many times it is a reflection of yourself. It is someone who, like many authors write books that they wish that they could have read when they were younger, or books that they wish that they had right now, like to read, or they create products that they know other people are struggling with, that they have experienced themselves, and they found some answers to those problems. And many nonfiction books provide those insights as well. And so if you are struggling to figure out who your ideal reader is, it really start to look at yourself, having that be a reflection of yourself, thinking about, what do I look for in books that I'm reading? What style of books? How do I want to feel when I read this book? And thinking about what grabs my attention. Why do I buy certain books over others? It's really starting to think about, what is it that I want out of whatever I am promoting, whether that be music or books or a product or service, and start listing out why you buy certain things and why you are drawn to those things as well. And so something that I like to do, especially because it's sometimes hard to, like, you say, well, I can't really talk to myself with, like it would feel kind of weird doing that. So what I like to do is, even though you can kind of create a persona. So I actually did this myself. So I had, like, if you come up with this list of traits, like of things that that you're looking for in a book that you're writing, or if what grabs your attention, create kind of a persona for this person and give them a name. So I did this myself. My ideal reader's name is Rebecca. She lives in Atlanta, and she is married, and she has 3 kids. She has a part-time job. Her husband is an accountant. I have all of these different details. I brought this person to life, but Rebecca doesn't actually exist. She is just that ideal person. She's that perfect person that I've made up in my mind of who I am talking to. So anytime I'm getting ready to post on social media, I'm not thinking about the millions of other people that are online. I am just thinking about Rebecca. And I think, will Rebecca find this funny? Will Rebecca find this applicable? Is she struggling with this? Is this something that she would find helpful? So I'm always thinking that ideal connection, that ideal person, or you can call it an ideal avatar, that is the person that you are talking to. You're not talking to the masses, you're just talking to that one person. So that is just, that is what when we talk about your ideal reader, that is what we are doing. So that's just, those are those few baby steps that you need to do to get started with that. And so with that, if you're still kind of trying to figure out what it is that this person will, what you can post, and we'll get into the details of what you can post here in just a little bit, but start with this is just a little bit of observing. And this is kind of like that research. I always encourage authors that I'm working with to do some observing before they jump in to like social media or podcasting or blogging or whatever. Observe first. So what I want you to do is, like, to set aside just some time where you can intentionally think about what it is that stops your scroll. So meaning this, you're sitting down and you're scrolling through, let's say it's Instagram. You're scrolling through Instagram, and when something catches your eye and it makes you stop and go, it makes you want to watch the full reel, or makes you want to click to read more of the caption. What is it about that post that makes you want to stop? And really be paying attention to that and thinking, is it the music? Is it something that they're doing in the video? Is it because it has animals in it? That's why I stop most of the time. There's a dog, or there's a cute goat or something like that. So there might be animals, or there might be colors. It might be the text on the screen. It could be a variety of different things, but it's really taking note and being intentional with, why did I want to stop? Why did I want to stop the scroll? Because that's our goal with what we're posting on social media. We want to stop the scroll. And so when you understand, okay, what stops my scroll, that will help you to kind of get started in creating content like that. If it is, like a reel, or if it's a faceless reel, or if it's something that has like a really pretty background to it, it's really taking note of what it is that makes you want to stop the scroll. And then on the reverse side of that too, it's thinking about what you don't like. So, like when my son sees things that are moving really fast, he says it's too busy. So that's his way of saying, it's just too much. So maybe it's fast moving videos. Maybe that's something that just kind of makes your head spin. Or maybe it's showing your face. You absolutely do not have to show your face in reels or in video or in the images if that makes you uncomfortable. Maybe it's certain colors. And so taking note of the things that you don't want to include is also important. So you can kind of find what that sweet spot of what it is that you do want to share, and thinking about what things you do want to include, because you do not have to do the things that you do not feel comfortable doing. If it feels too much, or if it feels out of your comfort zone. And you know what? You might eventually get comfortable with doing this, or like maybe eventually you will want to share your face, but you don't have to if you don't want to. That's the beauty of it. So, okay, so you're scrolling through your feed. This is really going to be a great starting point for you starting to share things about your books and to start connecting with people on. And this does take some experimenting. You do not have to get it right the first time right out of the gate. There's an author that I've been connected with for several years she started on Instagram, then she moved over to TikTok, but she has tried so many different things to try to, just kind of get, just to make that connection with her readers. And it took I think it was like a good 6 to 8 months for her to really kind of figure that out. And now she's in this really great groove, and she has a style, and she knows how to connect with her readers. You don't have to get it right and perfect the first time. And I know that is so hard to do. I am like that. And I'm like, if I'm not good at it right away, I'm not doing it. But I've kind of broke through that. But it does take some experimenting. So give yourself some grace and give yourself some time, because that experimenting is really going to help you nail in what it is that you want to really focus on. So again, you can share as much as you feel comfortable with, but if you do want to share more personable or more relatable things, others do want to feel seen and understood. So that is one of the things. Empathy is missing from so much of social media and marketing in general. People are longing for connection. And if they can see themselves in your books, if they can see themselves in your songs, if they can see themselves within the products that you're selling, or within your art, or whatever it is that you are doing, that is going to draw them in more than you just talking about how many books you've sold, or how many albums you sold, or anything like that. They want to feel seen. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing certain things, you absolutely don't have to. But knowing that others want to feel seen and understood is going to really make you make that human connection with you. So that is just something to think about as well. So overall, one of the biggest questions that I get is like, how many times do I actually have to post on social media? Or I feel like, what on earth could I even post about? And I feel like I'm just, yelling into the void when I talk on social media, and I totally get it. But again, we're talking about keeping things simple. And when it comes to your posting schedule with what you're actually posting on social media, we want to simplify to amplify. So let's talk about that. So there's something that I like to call content buckets. And content buckets are like about 3 to 5 different topics that you like to talk about and that you want to connect with people on. And something that I always tell authors is like, if you feel like you are just not, it's not possible for you to post more than once or twice a week, that's fine. I always start simple and you can always get fancy later. So if you want to aim at, like down the road, posting about 3 times a week, that's perfect. But if you want to start with 1 or 2 times a week, that's fantastic as well. Start building that habit and start building that muscle to make that to make it easier. So you kind of ease into it. When I have clients that go all in, they're like, I'm going to post 3 times a day, every day of the week, and they fry out about 3 days in. It's just, it's crazy. So start simple and you can always get fancy later. So when we're talking about the content buckets, I find that 3 content buckets is really the sweet spot, because there's kind of the mix that we want to kind of focus on there are 3 things. It's connecting, promoting, and community. And so when we can kind of use those 3 as our content buckets, it really helps to simplify. So we have some parameters around what we're sharing. So the first content bucket that we're going to be talking about is connecting and attracting. This is how we are going to connect with people as a human being, and to kind of show that empathy and to show, this is what I'm interested in. Have you ever seen someone who's like reading a book that you don't know, like you're at the library or at a bookstore and you see them reading a book that you absolutely love, you automatically go, oh, I think we would be best friends. You think you have this instant connection with them. It's the same thing. Like what we're trying to do is to show, like, these are some of the things that I'm interested in and that you will also be interested in as my ideal reader, as my ideal avatar. So what can we do to connect and attract? One of the easiest things that you can do is share what you're reading or share what you're listening to. This can be, like you can share a stack of books that maybe it's a collection of books that you bought just because you love the cover, or maybe it's your favorite series of books. It can be, like what you're reading that week, or like what you're listening to, or, just like whatever it is that you want. And then sharing your hobbies. That is really, it's one of the fun things about, like that you can connect with other people on, whether that be, like gardening, or my son collects Legos. He loves Legos. So talking about that, talking about I collect books, or collecting, flowers, or, other things. It can be whatever it is that you want. Sharing those hobbies is a great way to connect with people. And your interests. Causes are also another big thing. If you are very passionate about a certain topic, about a certain maybe it's something political, maybe it's something that's happening in the world, maybe it's an organization that you're very passionate about. Relatable posts. These are the posts that you will probably see the most engagement on. And the problem with this is that many authors that I work with, they kind of lean only into the connection and the attraction content, because they see the most, the likes, or the, or the comments or shares or something like that. And while that's all great, if you're only leaning into that, you're not going to be leading people where you want them to go. These 3 different types of posts are going to be very intentional about leading people to the next step. So this is going to be how you're going to grow your audience and get more eyeballs on you. So this is the first one. These are relatable posts. The second one is to promote. So these are going to be the projects that you're working on, like if it's your book or your music, what you're working on. Maybe you can talk about your process of writing or creating. It can be sharing pull quotes or samples from your book. It's really showing what it is that makes your book different from others. What is it that your book is offering? What is it that your music is talking about? Is there a theme behind it? Is there is it a special project? It's thinking about what it is that makes that stand out. When I often talk about promoting, many people think that it means trying to sell like holding the book up saying, buy my book. That's not what we're talking about. Promotion can just be talking about the book. What is it that makes it, again, like what is it, pull quotes? What is it, the hook? What are some of the characters? That kind of thing. So promoting can just be, it's a lot, call it kind of a softer sell, because it's not going right in and, asking them to buy it. It's about showing the essence of the book and nurturing that. And then the third is community. So this is something, especially if you're on Instagram, I like to use the community within stories. That's kind of like looking at your connection content and your promotional content as being in your feed. That can be those can be just static images, or they can be reels. Those are kind of like how you're growing your audience. And then your stories can be how you're connecting with them, how you're building community with them. And that's where you can share, more personable or, like personable things. Like I do not share pictures of my son or our dog or our family or where we live and all that stuff in the feed. I only share that in my stories. And so this is where you can really, that people are already connected with you when they have you in your stories. So this is where you can begin to build that connection, where you can ask questions, where you can have polls, where you can repost and reshare other people's content. This is where you kind of start to build that community. And of course, those can go in your, in your feed. If you are on TikTok, those can also be stories as well, but you can also share more personable things if you want to. But this is, again, where we're starting to dive into conversations and get to know one another a little bit better. And so these three types of posts, they all work together because we're getting eyeballs on your content, on your posts, you're growing your audience, and then you're showing them what you're working on. This is kind of, again, leading them to be more curious about what you're working on, and then you're also building that community, and you're making them feel seen, and you're connecting with them on a deeper level. And these all work together. And so it's something that, again, like when they all work together, you might not see as many likes or comments on the promotional posts, but that's okay, because we know, okay, they're still seeing it. They're still, you need to remember that it takes a minimum of 8 impressions in order for people to take action. So we need to, keep talking about it and keep getting these things in front of them. So how can we take this and apply it to, was there a question?
Yes. Joe wanted to know, is it 2 to 3 posts per week total or per bucket?
Oh, great question. It's 2 to 3 posts per week. Yeah, if you're already used to, like posting, and if you are already posting multiple times a day or something like that, go for it. But this is really more about, again, simplifying. So keeping it at 2 to 3 posts per week would be great. So how we can take this and apply it to an actual strategy. So here is a sample of a content calendar. So this is something that I have personally been using this for many, many years. And it just helps to be intentional with your posts. And it also helps you to be consistent, because in my experience, the hardest part about being consistent is just thinking about, gosh, what am I going to post today? What am I going to do? And so what this helps you do is to think ahead and to plan ahead, but it's going to help you to also save time. So okay, I know what I'm going to be posting this week. I'm good. Then you can just execute it. So let me walk you through how to do this. So on the left-hand side, we have your content buckets. And these are, like the 3 things that we're going to be talking about. And I myself am a visual person, so I like to color code the days of the week. So I know that Mondays, I'm going to be talking about content bucket number 1. On Wednesdays, I'm talking about content bucket number 2, and Fridays, number 3. So they are each colored. And so what I'm going to do is, let's say that in the first bucket, I decide, okay, I want to share books that I'm reading. And if you want to do like on the previous slide, like if you want to do like the things that you're reading and hobbies and interests, that's totally fine. You can totally add them to this content bucket. But just for example, and for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do one thing. So I see that I'm going to be sharing books that I'm reading. So all I have to do, because I know that there are 5 Mondays in this month, I only have to come up with 5 different books that I'm going to be sharing. So I'm going to, I list out some ideas about the books that I want to share. And because I know that I only have 4 Wednesdays in this month, I'm going to come over and put 4 different ideas that I can share about my book. I can introduce a main character. I can share the new book cover. I can share a pull quote. I can share a point of view video with my book hook. Those, you're just 4 different posts. So you fill that in over on the side. And then I decide I want to share behind the scenes into my life. I want to share a picture of my dog sleeping. I'm going to share my favorite local indie bookstore, my garden, and my morning walk. I'm going to take some video and just kind of share behind the scenes. And so then I just fill that in on that side. So what this does is it takes what we might think of as this huge task, and it breaks it down into just 4 or 5 different topics that you have to come up for each bucket. And in a matter of minutes, you have an entire month's worth of content planned out. And so that's the first step. So you can plan out your whole month. But I personally, and again, if you want to do something different, that's totally fine. But some people advocate for batch creating content, meaning that you spend like an entire day creating like a month's worth of posts. And in my personal experience and with clients, I have batch recorded for like several weeks. And like when it comes time to post something like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I look at it and go, I wish I would have I like the topic, but I don't like how I recorded it, or I don't like that trend, or that's not a trend anymore, or, something like that. So what I like to do is to plan out, like I have the plan for the month, but once a week I go in and then I record or I create my posts for the week. So if I look at like Monday, I'm going to talk about my favorite young adult fantasy series. I look at that and go, okay, I'm going to make that a reel, and I'm going to put the books down one at a time, and that's going to be my reel. And then I look at the second one and introduce my main character for my book. Okay, I'm going to make that a reel as well. And then I'm going to share a picture of my dog sleeping. So I know what I'm going to post, and I can create that it's much less intimidating to have these 3 posts, and I already know what the topic is, but it's just executing it. So then you can record your reels, you can write your captions, and you're good to go. And something else that I'd like to put here, on the Friday post, you can see I did a pick-E, and I forgot to put this in on this example, but I also like to put what kind of call to action I'm doing. And we'll talk about this here in a minute, but a call to action is when it's leading them to the next step that you want them to take. So on this example, I put E, that means engagement. I want to ask a question or to get a conversation going. Again, that's like a community building post on Friday. So that's what it means by that. So we'll be getting to that here in just a second. But this is just a very streamlined way for, especially if you feel overwhelmed with ideas, if you feel overwhelmed with just coming up with something to post, this helps you. It's a very straightforward way to plan out your content, to be intentional, so you can be consistent, and so you can you aren't as overwhelmed throughout the week to have something to post. So this is just a very streamlined way that you can do that. All right, so something else that many people overlook is the actual caption of the post. And it gets a little confusing because like in Reels, you can have closed captioning where the text shows up and then we have the caption. to the actual post. So this is the caption below the video that we're talking about. And many times, many people just put a few words and then they don't put any detail into the actual post. And this is actually a really great way for you to add those details that might not be included in the actual image or in the video. We want to keep the video or the image, if we do include text, we don't want it to be overwhelming the screen. And we want that to just kind of hook them on with that visual or with your reel. And that's when you can lead them to the caption. So on, like Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is that you're posting, most of the time you'll only see the first 2 lines of the caption, and we want them to click the read more. And so the top line, the first line of text that we use in our caption should be a hook. This is to kind of lure them, to want them to read more. So the hook on this example is, this reminds me of, it's like, oh, what does it remind you of? You want to click. And because there's this beautiful image and this very, like this beautiful quote or this beautiful poem, you want to know more. And so it talks about her best friend and how she passed away, and that, like what it was that inspired her to write her book. And it's, goes into that. And so it's more about being intentional about stopping the scroll with the image or the video, hooking them with the caption to make them want to read more, and then it's leading them. It's a very gentle way to lead people to where you want them to go. And so it's not just coming, like out blazing, like saying right away, buy my book in the image or in the video. It's about taking them through the process and gently leading them to where you want them to go. So we've hooked them with the image. We got them the hook with the caption. We let them know a little bit more about the story. We can go into storytelling, which is very, very powerful. And then you can lead them, like to what it was that inspired you about your book, and then going into a call to action. And so this is click the link in my profile to get your copy. So there are 3 calls to action that you can do that I would encourage you to do. One is to click the link in your bio to have them go to your website or to your sales page or whatever it is. The second one is to lead them, if you have a newsletter, to sign up for your newsletter. That's the second call to action. And then the third call to action is to ask some sort of question or to build that engagement. It's an easy to answer question. So it could be, if it was an engaging post like this, maybe the call to action would be, like click the heart or comment a heart emoji if this resonates with you, or what is your favorite YA fantasy, or what is your favorite, like it's an easy to answer question, and that's how you build that engagement, and that's how you build that community. But that is really, like, that's kind of the flow that you want to take. Again, it's not aggressive. It's a gentle leading people exactly where you want them to go. And again, the caption itself doesn't need to be a magnum opus. It doesn't need to be this huge, like rambling thing. It's really about hitting the certain points that you want to highlight. So it's the hook, the body, and then the call to action.
So this is your 2-minute warning.
Perfect. Okay, I'll swing through this. Hashtags, you can just use a few. It's more about being relevant in what you want to highlight. So if it's a certain group or a certain keyword that you want to use, we'll do that. That's what a hashtag can help exemplify. So if you give this strategy a month with the 3 content buckets, give this a month or 2. You want to kind of get things going and to have that consistency there, because then you're going to have analytics to check out. Because what the analytics will tell you is what people are responding to, what is what are they resonating with? And that's going to help you to kind of, again, narrow down what it is that you actually talk about. So for example, this, like on the back end of Instagram and on TikTok and Facebook, they all have this, where you can go to see all of the posts. And then you can see for the last 30 days or the last 90 days, you can see what posts were the most popular. What were people the most engaged with? What were they most interested in? And when you see those interests, you're able to say, okay, they really like this kind of content. Maybe I can make more of this. Or this didn't work as well. Maybe I could try something else, or I can kind of abandon that idea and try something different. So the analytics are really going to help you to kind of go to that, like to really see what it is that people are actually responding to. And so this is where you can find me. I have a free download. It's called the Book Marketing Blueprint that kind of takes this and kind of helps you to kind of formulate things yourself. But that's a free download that you can get at mixusmedia.com. I also have a Book Marketing Simplified podcast. And then all of my social handles are at social media or at mixusmedia.com. So that's that.
Thank you so much. Iris had a question. She wanted to know, she used to have her Facebook connected to both TikTok and Instagram, so whenever she posted a video, it cross-posted to the other two. Is that helpful?
Absolutely. Yes, that if you, the one thing that you want to be careful of with the automatic posting is just to make sure that the caption is relevant for each outlet. So for example, if you have a like a call to action that makes sense, like there are like maybe you might not have the same, or like click the link in my bio doesn't necessarily make as much sense on Facebook when like you can actually click the link right there on Facebook. They wouldn't necessarily go to the bio. So just making sure that things are formatted like that so that they make sense. But yes, absolutely, you can do that.
Hey, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Somebody was asking if the slides will be available later, and yes, the answer is absolutely they are.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was a wonderful talk. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. And let me know if you have any other questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.